And we're live.
And we're live. Okay, here we are, the Jimmy Doane Show.
Hey.
Post-debate, the 27th of September, Tuesday. And I'm not going to give a short post-mortem
Yeah.
on that. Councilor Curtis is here to advise us on some of the legalities, maybe.
That's me. You can see right there. We changed things up a little bit, as you can see.
Yeah.
Information down below instead of up here
Okay.
for your viewing pleasure.
Okay.
And really for Mrs. Jimmy.
Yeah, it was quite adamant.
Let's be clear. The producer was on our butts about this.
Yeah. It was quite. So we got more to do. This is obviously continuing work in progress.
Yeah.
So thanks for tuning in, and thanks for watching today. It's about 4 o'clock here, and we're going to give a little post-mortem. Not that it hasn't been done today by everybody.
What?
Yes. I watched a couple, I read a couple, and of course the both sides are convinced they really won big.
Man.
And, I mean, and they had the spinsters, the spinners out there, and they have a special spin room after the debate.
Yeah.
Where the surrogates wear their little surrogate badge.
Right. They even call it the spin room.
Yeah, I know. And so you have all the reporters there, and they get to go walk up to their chosen spinner and find out what was really said and so forth, and they analyze it. But basically, we watched it.
Mm-hmm. We watched the whole thing.
We watched it right to the bitter end, and
the Hosta got the scars from.
Right. Yeah, this is one of those things I had to go wash my eyes out with soap.
Yeah.
So it was
spray right into the eyes.
That's right. It was a little painful, but at the end of it, when the first instantaneous, within 20 seconds after it ended, I thought that Trump had lost big.
Oh yeah,
I
me
thought
too.
he'd gotten wiped up.
Me too. I thought he got crushed. Utterly.
And we're kind of Trump fans. I mean, it's certainly not anything to do with not Hillary fans.
No.
By any stretch of the imagination. But I'm saying that let me put it this way: we're in a torture chamber, and they were going to shoot somebody that I love. Unless I made a choice.
Right.
So that's how, because I don't vote.
I don't know. Actually, honestly, truth be told, if I was in the same torture chamber, I might vote for Hillary. I probably would. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
From my perspective, Hillary is the establishment.
Right.
She's
totally.
She's the establishment candidate, and we know what she's going to do. She's the devil we know.
Right.
We know she's going to push socialist policies. She's going to do everything that she can to be Barack Obama.
And on steroids.
Right, but I don't even think she's him on steroids. I think he's her on steroids.
Okay.
And yeah, he was able to effectively destroy the economy in 8 years. And I think she would double down on those policies and try to do that. But also, she would be up against people who know her and know what she's up to. That is the other, I say against. She would have to contend with the Republican Congress or whoever's in there, and they know her playbook. They know what she's going to do, and I think it would be much more of a stalemate type of situation, stagnation. Whereas Trump, from my perspective, is a very strong-willed person. Right. On the scale, he's way out there in terms of strong-willed. And what we know about the executive position is that they get away with a lot.
Oh.
And they get away with a lot because of their will, because of their willingness to do brash things, bold things. And the Congress largely goes along with it. I mean, you had the Iraq invasion and just because he wanted to... they voted him an authorization for the use of military force going forward indefinitely, with practically no dissenters except for Ron Paul. And it's just like a blank check. And so Trump, from my perspective, would be a lot more willing to take advantage of that. He's taken practically no beatings at all in the press, or not in the press he's taken beatings, but in the public. He's gotten away with doing whatever he wants to do for a long time, and I think that he would continue to push the envelope in a way that is far beyond what she would be able to do, just because I don't think she has a very powerful on the scale, she's down on the will scale from him, I think.
Okay.
And also, I don't think she's going to last very long. I mean, personally, I do think she's ill, despite what I would consider a phenomenal performance.
Phenomenal performance.
She looked presidential. She looked energetic. She looked great. Her answers were, I don't want to say substantive, but they were sequitur, and they were sort of complete in the sense that she answered the questions. And I think we would see a lot more of that from her going forward until she croaks. And then we get Kane, who I think would have very little influence. He would be like kind of a,
like Andrew Johnson after Lincoln.
Yeah, a castrata in chief
Yeah,
sort of person. And and so I don't think he would get away with too much. Whereas Trump, I think, would get away with a lot, and we don't know. He's more of a loose cannon from my perspective.
He is, and of course he's really super huge on the police force and policing and so forth. I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see further militarization of the police.
Oh yeah, I mean he would have no problem from my perspective suspending the Constitution for security or safety or whatever it is he wants to do. And he would just put it out there and just tell people, F off, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would just go along with it. I mean, the wimps that are up in Congress right now, the cave people, and I mean that by the sense of they cave at the first sign of trouble or any threat to their positions. Mm-hmm. I think he would be able to leverage the crap out of them, and he would push them all over the place and basically do what he wants to do, and the power of the executive would be expanded far beyond what we've seen in the past. It would be a Lincoln-esque sort of expansion from my perspective, and he would claim, I mean, it would be FDR type of court packing, and whatever it is he wants to do, he would try to find a way. And he's a winner from the standpoint of he gets stuff done. So I think there would be big changes, and I don't have a lot of hope that they would be changes in the quote right direction. So,
okay. Well, at any rate, let's talk about a little bit about the actual debate.
Okay.
The questions were some of the problem that I saw in it. The questions were bogus.
Yeah.
I mean, what about the birther thing?
I know.
Who cares? Who cares?
I know.
And for him to spend time, let me put it this way. He got suckered in. He baited him, and then he took the bait.
I know.
And spent 5, 6, 7 minutes on like the birther thing,
right,
on his tax return.
Right.
Who cares?
I know.
This has nothing to do with the substance of what's going on in this country.
Yeah, those were clickbait questions, and he took them. That's what I couldn't believe either.
The first thing I would have thought he would have said was, "What's up with a question like that?"
Exactly.
That's
your question. That's your whole question. You've got a chance to ask 2 presidential candidates a question, and you ask about what they think about the last president's birth certificate.
Yeah, I mean,
what?
Yeah, I mean, exactly, and that's what I'm not answering.
And
that.
they asked him about fat chicks and stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, what are you talking about? I mean, who gives a crap if he's a sexist pig? I don't care at all. I don't care. The question is, what's he going to do?
We already had one of those.
Yeah, we've had a bunch of those.
Witness your nudge, nudge husband.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, come on. The list is long of women abusing presidents. I mean, Kennedy. You could just go back through the list of presidents, and probably half of them would fit the same category as Trump does in terms of his treatment of women.
His treatment of women, when all is said and done, I mean, they were all complaining. For instance, he told one of the Miss Americas, "You need to drop a few pounds."
Right. It's a Miss America
right,
contest.
Exactly.
I know.
That's what look. You're not going to get a job with the Ford Modeling Agency unless you drop a few pounds.
Right. They say that at every modeling gig you go to. I know. I was a model, and you walk in there, and I'm telling you, it's like a button they have that says "drop a few pounds, drop a few pounds." They just don't even say anything. Just hit the button, drop a few pounds.
Yeah.
That's the mantra. And that's why we have 5'11" supermodels that weigh 115 pounds.
Right.
And it's amazing. Their wrists are wider than their biceps.
Yeah.
And I mean that's just the
like what is it when you don't eat
Yeah, anorexic or whatever.
Anorexic, yeah.
No offense, PJ, you are gorgeous. Okay,
Yeah, right.
trust me. But but yeah, I mean crazy. And the other comments. I mean, one of the big comments to me, the worst thing he's ever said about women was the stuff he said on his TV reality show. It's a television show.
It's entertaining.
Exactly. It's there to sell ads. It's there to be controversial. I don't know how many takes they did of that, but they picked that particular take. The producers picked it. Maybe Trump had some influence in it, but still, it has nothing or extremely little, infinitesimally small amount to do with the actual policies that are necessary to rule the earth as the president does these days. So,
Well, I mean, there was so much more to it that he dropped the ball on.
yeah.
I mean, he really. I mean, she teed up this. As somebody once said, she teed him up and he whiffed it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I mean, the comebacks. For instance, on job creation, he's created 10, 20,000.
I know.
jobs.
He didn't even mention that.
No, I mean, you can say I'm rich. Okay, so what? But or maybe I'm not. Who cares? I mean, what? This has nothing to do. But I actually have a record of creating. Now, as far as you're talking about my bankruptcies, this is what the market does. There are bankruptcies every single day.
Right. They're a good thing. You're supposed to have a
You're
bankruptcy.
supposed to have when things aren't going right.
That's what you do.
That's what you do.
You shut it down.
You cut off the losers.
You liquidate the thing.
And you take that capital and you put it to a better use.
You reallocate it in the destructive
That's what you're
capitalism.
supposed to do.
Exactly.
And there are consequences.
Right. And you talk about his treatment of women. He's got thousands of women under his employ. I mean, how you can say what you want about how he treats them in person on his TV reality show, but the fact is he hires them.
Right.
His campaign manager. I mean, and maybe that's a political thing, of course, but there's a bunch of women, I'm sure, that are very happy with their executive positions in his business.
Yeah.
And so that's real treatment. That's actual treatment.
Right.
So
Well, they also the other thing that it is so the questions that was the real problem was he took the bait
right
and ate up all this.
Well,
time
they
on-
asked her the questions first, like 80-90% of the time. It was, Hillary, what do you think about that?
Yeah.
And then, like you said, she teed him up and he went for it. And that was what I chastised him for not preparing.
He should have known. He should have known.
Man, he should have known. And he was repetitive.
Yeah.
He was redundant. And he was non-substantive.
Non-substantive. And that's how we're going to make America great again.
Right.
But what did you just?
You didn't say nothing.
Yeah, we're going to create jobs. That's how.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you? That was it. Right. That was my objection to him. And it's interesting because when you get onto Fox and some of the acolytes for Trump, they thought he just did a great job.
I just can't understand that. I thought she crushed him on every level. Appearance,
well, she did.
Body language.
That 5 days of practicing paid off for her.
Oh well, yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, she's. I don't know what she paid her makeup artist, but that person deserves an Academy Award.
Emmy performance, no question about it.
No question about it. I mean, that's
She looked great.
She walks home with the makeup artist walks home with the Oscar.
Absolutely.
Because she took 20 years off herself.
Yep.
As far as I can tell.
Yeah, me too. And Trump looked kind of wrinkled. He looked upset.
And he kept in his eyes. He kept looking.
Yeah, he kept squinting.
Yeah.
They got the sniffling all on tape.
Sniffing. What was all that?
I don't know.
That was as bad as a cough almost.
Yeah.
I just thought to myself, talk about a distraction.
Yeah. And how could he have not? That's one of the things, if you had prepared for and you'd gone up on the identical debate stage and done that performance the night before and replayed it to yourself, you would have said, hey, why am I sniffing every freaking 5 seconds like I have a cold or something?
The Twitter don't always saying, well, he took a couple of lines of coke before he went up.
Couple? Man, he sounded like, Laura Palmer from Twin Peaks on that. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah, it was. Well, yeah, now I will say this, that here's where he missed his opportunities. Emails, mentioned them. I'll do my taxes when you give me the email.
Yeah.
Well, that was a total scandal. You should have been. I mean, what did the FBI guys say? He did all but indict you.
Right.
I mean, that was that's one of the things. And then on job creation, Again, he's the one that's created 10,000 jobs. She has none,
Right.
zero, except maybe some soldiers or
A couple
something.
secretaries.
Yeah, right. And of course, then I talked about when she brought up the bankruptcies. He should have said that's business. That happens all the time. I mean, you can't go. I would guess if you pick up any newspaper in any town in the United States of America, in the legal section, there'll be a bankruptcy.
Well, and contrast that to what her position would be. Okay, so you don't want me to do a bankruptcy? So you want me to pour money into the failing business? A la government, that's what government does. When the government creates a business investment that is failing, what they always say, almost without exception, is, all we have to do is spend more money on it. I mean, reference the economy today. You got people like Krugman out there saying, we really didn't spend enough over the last 8 years. It was only 10 trillion. We really held back, and we've sequestered a bunch, and boy, it's been austerity to the mountains, austerity everywhere. I mean, does the guy know what austerity means? I mean, does he know what? It's like he really doesn't even understand that. But
well, the thing I looked at also was she's going to tax the rich, and of course the top 10% already pay half the taxes or whatever it is. I mean, how much more are you going to get out?
They're not their fair share, though. Apparently,
not their fair share. Yeah, they're paying. The what is it? The top 1 or 2 or 5% pay. The bottom 50% pay no taxes at all.
Right.
So they're already off the hook. And as far as the top 5 or 10%, I don't know what the number is. They pay,
the top 1% pays like 40% of the taxes.
Yeah. So how much more are you going to? Well, they're still rich. Okay. Yeah,
right. Well, it sounds great.
Well, again,
this is the Bernie Sanders soundbite.
Well, the thing I look at though is that one of the things that came out years and years ago were what they called the McDonald's millionaires and the Microsoft millionaires.
Right.
These were all the people, all the programmers, and all these other people that were making these fabulous amounts of money. They all got their brand new Porsches and everything like that. And the McDonald's people that worked up the food chain, and how many McDonald's are there worldwide, and those guys are doing really well. I mean, you look at our friend here that has the Burger King franchise, doing very well. So, and all the jobs that are being created along those lines. So this is what happens in entrepreneurship. But the other thing that he did do finally towards the end, he took it out on the Federal Reserve. Not as much as we would have.
Right.
By a long shot. I mean, I would have really pilloried the Federal. I would have mentioned things like, they were complicit in this debt of an extra $9 or $10 trillion over the last year. They were the ones that
they facilitated.
They facilitated it. They bowed down to Congress and the president on the money that they wanted. They bowed and scraped. And if you think that it wasn't political, dream on. It had to be.
Absolutely.
The simple fact is nobody in their right mind would double a $10 trillion debt to $20 trillion, plus or minus, unless it was political. You just don't do, and when your mandate is stability and employment and keeping inflation under control, and you haven't done that. You've got at least as many people that are workable age that are not working, could be, but they, because the economy is so bad, and now you've got this idea that somehow they've got the idea that zero interest rates are going to encourage saving. I mean, who is going on this life to the simple fact is, if you want to build a factory, who's going to loan you the money? I mean, you're going to say, I'm going to pay you no money. Could you please loan me, $20 million so I can build my factory? And I'm going to pay the interest rate will be zero.
Yeah, or how about negative?
Or how about negative? Right. I won't even give you all your money back.
Right.
Why do you think that there's no production going on, and you cannot spend yourself into rich? Can't spend yourself rich.
Well, and I'll say this. I was looking on the Facebook, and here are a whole bunch of people who are saying, thanks Obama for getting us out of this recession, for spending the $10 trillion. And you think about, what I think people must imagine is that when you start a business, you have to have a capital investment.
Right.
And these people imagine that this borrowing is the capital investment. That is to say, he borrowed $10 trillion, and any day now, the productivity in the economy is just going to shoot through the roof, and we're going to have so much more money to pay off this debt that we've just incurred over the last 8 years, that it was all worth it and more. And yet we're still going into debt by a deficit of $800 billion this year or something.
No, it's like I think
so far
they raised to 660.
Yeah, so far it's September, it's October. Yeah, I mean we got 3 months.
No. Budget starts on October 1st.
Oh, okay. So only a mere $650 billion or something like that
since last October.
Right.
Yeah.
So
and so where'd the money go? Where's the productivity? Where are the factories that were built with that money? It got spent on war. It got spent on stuff we blow up.
And cronies.
Right. And so
it got spent on imaginary future businesses like solar and wind power. Just hopeful, sort of fanciful ideas of what the economy should support, as opposed to what real investment would build.
The thing is, though, that here's the part that's so disappointing is that Janet Yellen has got to realize that her children and grandchildren and their children are going to have to pay this debt off.
They don't realize that.
That's the whole thing. You have sold your own progeny into slavery.
They don't realize that. It's
that simple.
She's married to a guy who won a Nobel Prize for a 12-page paper. Okay? And as far as they're concerned, they are at the top. They understand everything. They know how it works, and the way that it works is all you do is you spend yourself to prosperity. That's what Keynes believed, and it's a wonderful philosophy for the big government people. They love it because it makes perfect sense to them. Look, all we have to do is collect billions and trillions of dollars. We get to keep our share, and the economy will flourish. It'll just bloom like a garden that we've just sprinkled fertilizer on. Green shoots.
Don't forget the
green shoots. 8 years ago, green shoots, and 1% growth we're at right now. Doesn't anybody remember their history about your average growth is what, 2.5%, 3% in a normal economy? In a normal economy, forget about a booming economy. I mean, we've had 7% growth in the past, and we are at 1% after $10 trillion.
And even that, without going into the weeds, that could be a bogus number because because you have to figure inflation in on this.
Oh yeah.
And of course they're not. And what is stunning, of course, is that somehow they have decided that their goal, and this is all the central banks worldwide, is 2% inflation. You should have no inflation.
Right.
I mean that any inflation is a distortion.
That's part of the Keynesian anti-gold mantra, which is, we can't use gold to back the money because it doesn't expand fast enough for growth. That's what they say. We don't have enough gold out there for the expansion of the money supply, which doesn't even make sense economically, as you know.
Well, no, not on so many levels. First of all, when he was making those statements, gold was $35 an ounce.
Mm-hmm.
So, here we are at $1,300 or something like that. With all this stuff, and equivalent, as somebody once said, a $20 gold piece today, back in the 30s or the 20s, would buy you a very nice Savile Row custom suit. $1,300 today will do you the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you take that gold double eagle,
mm-hmm.
and so it stayed the same. It's held up its value.
Right, which makes perfect sense.
Perfect sense.
Because it means exactly the same thing to the people who want gold that it did 100 years ago.
Right, and not only that, as the price goes up, of course, it becomes more economical to mine the gold, the lesser gold. I mean, when I first started looking at it, you'd get so many ounces per ton or whatever it is, and they have increased the efficiency now so that you can get a couple of flakes per ton, and it makes it worthwhile at these prices.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, yeah, and now there's actually whole industries that are built up on mining the previously mined earth.
Yeah, they call those the tailings.
I mean, man, you just go back through the throw-off stuff, through the trash,
right?
And they've got a new multi-million-dollar business,
right?
And it's just because of this massive devaluation of the dollar that the Fed has overseen for the last 80 years, and
well, they've always, again, they're were tasked with the idea of a stable economy, essentially. Okay, how's that been working out for you?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, since literally 103 years ago when they came into existence, the dollar, our dollar, has depreciated by some 97 or 98%.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
I mean, that's what's happened. And so good job, Fed. I mean, no, not a good job. And of course, now they're making it worse. With nobody can save any money. You cannot save money. And so what happens is you've got this casino up in New York, and of course, if everything goes
Talking about the stock market.
yeah, the stock market it is absolutely worse than a casino. And a lot of people will tell you that. It's not.
Yeah, Trump said it last night. He said it's a giant bubble.
Yeah, it's a giant. Yeah, he talked about the bubble, and the casino aspect of it means that nobody's investing. That's the thing.
Right.
Nobody's investing. They're speculating. I don't care
Right.
who you are. When you buy a stock, you're hoping it'll go up faster than and you can sell it, and maybe make a few dollars, and so it's capital gains kind of stuff. And not that they don't tax that, but so either way, you could still lose if you make 10 or 15 or 20% on your money. By the time inflation catches up with you and the taxes are paid, you basically almost stood still, and you have the risk of losing.
Right.
And they don't give you your tax money back if you lose.
They don't?
No, sorry. But I mean, he did take it out. As I say, we would have done a hell of a lot more on the Federal Reserve. I mean, I would have tripled down on Janet Yellen and what they're doing, and how they single-handedly, with the collusion of the Congress and the people that think they are so smart, how they've actually ruined this economy, and all the statistics and smoke and mirrors are not going to prevent it. And the bubble, as he says, a bubble's pop. That end of story. What's interesting, of course, is I read the Fed response.
The Fed response to the debate?
Yeah.
Okay, what did they say?
They thought they had been attacked unfairly. This is exactly where we have accomplished this, that, and the other, and this, this is an unfair attack, and he doesn't know what he's talking about, and so blah blah blah. And I mean, there were 2 or 3 Fed chairmen that came out and said that, as well as Janet, and they said this is unfair and an erroneous attack on how the Fed is performed.
Well, it makes perfect sense to me. I mean, hey, they're the Bank of the United States, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, they're like the old
Right.
Bank of it, the one that Jackson ash canned in
Right.
1932 or whenever.
Exactly.
And this one should be the same way. And of course, they claim because it's private.
Yeah,
and,
no.
That's right. That's the other thing. It's private. I mean, if a normal bank did what these guys do,
Oh my God.
they would be down on them they close them up.
Right.
The Feds would walk in there and say, "Close them up. You can't do that." Well, you do.
Right.
But no,
we're special.
we're really too big to fail.
Right. Yeah.
So, and of course, we have a printing press.
Right.
We have access to a printing press.
Yeah.
So that was something that I was glad that he brought up, and it was
I
surprising
don't
to
think
me in a way.
people don't understand that at all, though. And I would have gone off on taxes a lot more, but at this point, everybody's under the impression that America's greatest years were during the 93% tax rate on the rich.
Right.
And so, how are you going to fight that? I mean, look at all this prosperity, and oh, by the way, taxes were 90+%. I can't imagine anybody paid 90% of their money, of their income, to the government, because that's just,
You quit.
yeah. Well,
I mean,
or
seriously,
you hide it.
Of course, you have to understand this was the marginal rate,
Yeah.
and which meant like the first in 1913 when they passed the tax thing, the marginal rate was I forget what it was, but it wasn't that high. It shot up real quick during the First World War. But the point is, it was like at $20,000 a year, which back then nobody made that kind of money. Mm-hmm. I mean, Rockefeller and some other people,
Right?
did it, but they had trusts.
Right, and by marginal rate, you mean that 97% was only taxed on their last bit of high earning
Right.
income.
No, you didn't get taxed on the 90% unless you made more than 20,000.
Right.
And at that point, if you made another 10,000, 9,000 of it went to the government. Well, of course, at that point, you'd say, "Screw it. Why should I bother?"
Yeah, or
and again, you back then you were rich at 20,000.
right.
I mean,
Or you hide it overseas, like it's been happening recently, and he did point that out. but in a quite repetitive way.
Right.
He didn't talk about, I mean, he did talk about the money that was out there that could be repatriated. But you look at something like Ireland and how they have garnered a whole bunch of big companies recently by slashing their tax rates.
Well, it's interesting because they've gone through, that's kind of a digression, but this is the second time they've done it.
Ireland?
Ireland, yeah. First time they did it was when Apple went over there the first time,
Okay.
20 years ago or 25 years ago. They got greedy.
Oh, and they jacked it back
They
up.
jacked it back up, and that's why they were one of the BRICS.
Right.
For and they realized their error of their ways and said, "Yes, we're killing the goose of gold, whatever it is." And now they have retrenched back to the old days, as well they should have. I mean, and you talk about a textbook Harvard Business School textbook example. Go invest go look at them for just the last 30 years.
Yeah, not Harvard Business School.
Well,
Wharton, yeah.
Wharton, yeah. Go on over there and take a look and see exactly what happened. And so again, the thing is that what they didn't get to at all, of course, is the near impossibility of paying back the debt. Why? Because you first have to balance the budget.
Yeah.
You have to get rid of the deficit.
If they ran a surplus of $1 trillion for the next 10 years, we would only get back to where George W. Bush left us off after his $1 trillion last year of spending.
Right.
And nobody even is addressing that because they don't want to look at that. They think the future, it's just like I said, it's roses and unicorns and rainbows and stuff. And when all that money just pours out of the sky, then we'll have plenty. And until then, you can just look the other way. Krugman talks about, well, every person has a mortgage on their house for, let's say, $100,000, and they're only making $40,000 a year. So, hey, there's nothing wrong with having a giant debt hanging over your head because, as far as he's concerned, that debt is comparable to personal debt. And it's
well, except there's a couple of things wrong with that. Number one, if you can afford a $40,000 house on your $100,000 income.
Oh, I had it reversed. $100,000 house on your $40,000.
That's what I meant. Say you could do that, okay? And you can. I mean, it's not impossible.
Right.
But what happens if you go out on your $40,000 income and buy a $50 million house?
Right.
That's
no problem.
That's what we've done here.
Well, I mean, it's kind of comparable to 40,000, 100,000. I mean, it's $4 trillion. The government's income is $4 trillion, and they owed $10 trillion, and now we owe
20. Right.
Yeah, well, now we owe 20, and the income is still $4 trillion, and we're still spending $5 trillion or $4.5 trillion.
Well, it's not quite that, but I mean, but bottom line is we're still don't have any money to pay down the debt at all. Number one. We're not even we are making what they call the minimum payment.
Right.
The interest only is what we're paying. That's $360 billion a year right now. And that's at damn near 0% interest rates. So, but the point is that, if you think you're going to balance, you have to first balance the budget before you have a surplus. And you think about it, what are you going to cut when you are borrowing $620 billion to quote, balance your budget? What are you going to cut if you decide I'm not going to borrow any more money? What was that $620 billion spent on is not going to be spent on it anymore.
Right. Well, and not only that, but you gotta unspend another $620 billion to try to start to make payments on your debt.
Exactly.
But people don't realize that. They literally think that's the government's debt. That's not my debt.
Yeah, exactly,
and that's just the government. Yeah. No, it's just those guys up there. And
you say that, but think about something. You're always touting this "we the people." That's we the people's debt.
Well, again, that's what I'm.
I don't see how if you can't be we the people for the good stuff and not be we